If you're new to my channel, make sure to like and subscribe to continue receiving great reviews. Thanks so much for tuning in today on our super fantastic episode of our Member Spotlight. We've got awesome entrepreneurs that are really just making a difference in the online space. And you guys are going to love my guest that I have today, because my guest is the owner and CEO of just a company that's helping entrepreneurs with building systems and automations to explode their businesses online. And that company is called Gimmee.info. Yeah, I said Gimmee. Gimmee. Is that right?
That is right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'd like to introduce our special guest today, Mr. Greg Howe.
Hey, well, appreciate that so much. I'm really thankful to be on here. It's going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to kind of explain where that all comes from. There's a reason for Gimmee and all those sorts of things. So,
yeah. So, for all those listening, give us a brief history of Greg. How did you start? How did you develop yourself to where you are today?
Yeah, well, let's see. It's all been software. So I started teaching myself how to program software when I was about 13 years old. Had gone to a friend's house and they have what's called a Trash 80. So that was a TRS 80 that came out of Radio Shack, and he was interested in playing the game, and I was like, how did they do that? And so I was literally like trying to look at the code and stuff. So
wait 1 second. For those of us who are kind of technologically handicapped, what's a TRS 80?
Okay, so a TRS 80 was like, it was about the size of your keyboard. It was literally just a keyboard that had an attachment that you could put to like a TV set or a monitor or whatever, and you could program. I don't know if you ever remember Commodore 64s and Ataris and things like that had the keyboard with it. So it was these early programming machines, the early, basically game machines.
Okay. So it was a video game.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was basically, yeah, you would put these cartridges in and you would play these games. And the one that this guy was playing was this rocket ship, and you could try to get it to land right on this platform, and you would move your arrows left and right. And he was all thrilled by that aspect of it. But I was like, how are they doing this? And so I started to get really into the code and figure out, how do you make the things go up and down the screen? And when he hits a button, how does it do this and that? And so, it's just 13. So I started banging around on stuff, and I've been programming ever since. I had I'm in 33 years now of professional software development. And so over the years, I just kept tinkering. It's like, I was the guy who would be, people would be like, hey, how am I going to get this data from over here to over there? Or how do I get it on this report or whatever? And actually, one of my coworkers a few years ago, the Google multi-letter thing, he wrote one that said Greggle, but he's like, can't figure out how to do it in code, go talk to Greggle,
Oh, yeah.
So and so that was how this came about, was this whole idea of, I just know how software connects. It's just been what I'm good at. I didn't intend to be a geek. It just was natural. And so that's where that came about. And then I ended up heading towards consulting and one-off development for other companies. And it was just basically, it was just I've been doing programming and building custom software for people, and I realized that there's a lot more to this, a lot more that I can do for people. And I saw something happening in the software industry that kind of bothered me. I've been I really like talking to guys like you. It's like, we can communicate, I can communicate. I'm not always at the geek level, though you do remind me that I do need to get better with my acronyms. And I use it so many times. So
yeah. Sometimes if you don't have that background and you have these acronyms and they're just normal place for you. I think Russell Brunson has a word for it. Do you know what that word is?
No.
He calls it technobabble.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to be honest, after this many years, it's hard. It's like when you know someone who's a nurse or a doctor and they start talking to you about whatever the thing is. It's like their face. You ever see that? Or a police officer. It's like when you start talking to them about their job or whatever, they go from smile to they get their work face on, and they start using the words and they start using the acronyms, and people become perpetrators. It's like, okay, well, they're just still people. You don't have to call them perpetrators. It's like that whole thing. So when you get into the computer mindset, it's a lot of acronyms, a real lot of acronyms. Mm-hmm. So what I was seeing, and this is where I want to bring this in. This is why Gimmee came about, was because where I get really psyched and jazzed up is to think about someone like you who's saying, I don't even know the acronyms, but I'm trying to get this job done. And I know that you might know how to connect these things, but it's Greek to me. And what I was seeing was that, and this is the part that was bothering me, was that software people were going this way. Business people were going this way. And that gap, as you see today, is even wider than it's ever been before. To find somebody who can communicate with you is difficult. And it's like there's so many good solutions that are being held back because people don't realize the data is right there, or that they can get it themselves, or whatever the case might be. So I decided to step in the online space and help people to get the data that they need. So the quick side story where this really came about, I think this will help nail it all in. Not a single acronym to be said, by the way. This will all be just a story. My brother, so I'm East Coast. I'm in Maine, and I've grown up in New England my whole life. My brother ended up moving out west, and he was working in Seattle, and started working for the University of Washington. And he was working with, he's a neurobiologist that works with DNA.
Okay.
Sorry, that's the only acronym, I swear. Okay. DNA. DNA. I think you know that one. So, he's working with DNA and figuring out for zebrafish what certain things happen. Now, his zebrafish group is working with mice group and working with human group and working with these other groups, and trying to figure out things like curing cancer. Big things. Okay. So my brother is curating, which means that he's looking at documents, pulling the information out, and putting it into a database for scientists to use. The big thing is, like, if you and I are scientists and we're not in the same place, we're not talking, how do you know if what you're going to just spend a bunch of money and time researching has already been researched or not? Or what have people found, or what's ancillary to it? So these guys are figuring all this stuff out. And it was driving me nuts because he came to my house and we were talking, and he...
Are you enjoying this video? Now's the time to smash that heart button and hit the subscribe. What are you waiting for? You'll be glad you did. Now back to the video.
Hard. It's like when you know someone who's a nurse or a doctor and they start talking to you about whatever the thing is. It's like their face. You ever see that? Or a police officer. It's like when you start talking to them about their job or whatever, they go from smile to they get their work face on, and they start using the words and they start using the acronyms, and people become perpetrators. It's like, okay, well, they're just still people. You don't have to call them perpetrators. It's like that whole thing. So when you get into the computer mindset, it's a lot of acronyms, a real lot of acronyms. So what I was seeing, and this is where I want to bring this in, this is why Gimmee came about, was because where I get really psyched and jazzed up is to think about someone like you who's saying, I don't even know the acronyms, but I'm trying to get this job done. And I know that you might know how to connect these things, but it's Greek to me. And what I was seeing was that, and this is the part that was bothering me, was that software people were going this way. Business people were going this way. And that gap, as you see today, is even wider than it's ever been before. To find somebody who can communicate with you is difficult. And it's like there's so many good solutions that are being held back because people don't realize the data is right there, or that they can get it themselves, or whatever the case might be. So I decided to step in the online space and help people to get the data that they need. So the quick side story where this really came about, I think this will help nail it all in. Not a single acronym to be said, by the way. This will all be just a story. My brother, so I'm East Coast. I'm in Maine, and I've grown up in New England my whole life. My brother ended up moving out west, and he was working in Seattle, and started working for the University of Washington. And he was working with, he's a neurobiologist that works with DNA.
Okay.
Sorry, that's the only acronym, I swear. Okay.
DNA.
DNA. I think you know that one. So,
Uh-huh.
he's working with DNA and figuring out for zebrafish what certain things happen. Now, his zebrafish group is working with mice group and working with human group and working with these other groups and trying to figure out things like curing cancer. Big things.
Okay.
So my brother is curating, which means that he's looking at documents, pulling the information out, and putting it into a database for scientists to use. The big thing is, like, if you and I are scientists and we're not in the same place, we're not talking, how do you know if what you're going to just spend a bunch of money and time researching has already been researched or not? Or what have people found? Or what's ancillary to it? So these guys are figuring all this stuff out. And it was driving me nuts because he came to my house and we were talking and he said, I have a scientist who has to wait 2 months for a set of data. Now, the scientist is the one curing cancer. They had to put a request in at the university and say, hey, can we have a file that has this information out of all of our databases? And they'd have to wait 2 months for a file. And the file may or may not, 2 months just to get the data to start looking at it.
Whoa.
And so what my brother ended up doing, now remember, my brother is a neurobiologist working in a database. He has a lot of science background. He taught himself programming so that he could take some of this data beforehand, get it to where the scientists could use some of it at least, and move it over somewhere. And so he was doing this manually. And he spent probably 2 years of his own time learning it just to get his job done.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Smart guy. However, what a waste of time.
It seems time consuming.
It is, it's huge. And it's like, okay, so instead of curing cancer, we have to wait for data. And that killed me. So what I was saying is, my brother's name is Doug. And I said, Doug, what if I could get you that data? It's like, yeah, the research computer people can get that file. You're having to translate it and pull it and move it and figure out how to do all the stuff that I already know how to do. Have them dump it in one place. You go over here with your pretty graph and I'll join them together. So that's where Gimmee came about. It was Gimmee data, Gimmee, 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 Gimmee. Because what's happening is the scientists now, their time is cut more than in half. My brother's time is cut into where he doesn't have to do the data side so much. He's building these awesome 3D models of DNA research so that a scientist can go look right at the graph and go, oh, somebody's already studying that one. Let me study this protein over here. Let me study this thing over here. Decisions are made much quicker. And so that was my whole point, was I'm going to do this for all these scientists. And then I got into the online world and found guys like you. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's so many bright people out there. They're just trying to get a job done. I know how to connect all this data. I got to put myself out here. And so I've been like scrambling for about 18 months now to try to put things in place so that I can do things for people, but also help people to learn it. Because the thing is, it's like a guy like you may not get the acronyms and you begin to feel like you might be inferior. Like I don't know this stuff. And it's like, no, you do. You just don't realize it. It's like, what if you could say, I want to get this type of data moved around, my CRM data. I've got lead information. I've got Facebook ads. I need to tie them together. It's like, okay, let me show you. It's very, very simple with this process to think it through. You might not be able to get all the technical aspect done, but if I give you the blueprint and you can fill out the blueprint using business language, well, then you're like 90% of the way there. And then I'll show you how to do pieces and how you can just outsource this little bit. Because the thing is, a guy like you, smart and whatnot, you're going to stop yourself before you had a chance to really look at it. And that's the thing, that gap is so big right now. People are like, oh, I'm not technical enough. Sorry. Oh, I'm overly technical. I don't know business. And I'm like, stop it. Let's do something together. Let's make something great happen. And so that's where Gimmee came about. So it started out as Gimmee.info. So it was this data. I just made it bigger and I said Gimmee.info. And eventually I'd like to make it into a company that has little umbrella companies that do specific things.
Sounds like what you do is you connect entrepreneurs to the data that they could use to really save them time.
Absolutely.
To really save them time, because time is what is, it's valuable. You said your brother had to wait 2 months, but if you could have all of this data that you need, then you could actually get on to more productive or being more your creative self.
Right.
What do you, is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that for what, yeah, exactly. You're dead on. Exactly. It is about the result that you get by allowing your brain to stop spinning on these things that you shouldn't have to spin on. Focus on what you do well. And I always say this. I said everyone has gifts, right? We all have good things.
Mm-hmm.
You do what you do well and fill in the gaps. Everyone always says, I need to know more about, like, I'm a tech guy. It's like, I did have to learn some marketing, but it's okay if I'm never Dan Kennedy, if I'm never Russell Brunson. That's okay, because I'm really good at what I do right here. I'm going to learn enough so that I can speak to somebody like you who's very good at the copywriting, who understands the power of the word, who says, if you change this paragraph and move it down here, changes the ballgame. It's like, I'm learning this stuff because it's fun, but if I don't have to, bonus.
Yes. Well, you make super awesome points there about connecting data with your marketing. But let me ask you, what do you say to the entrepreneur out there who's not collecting data, or they're not using data to make decisions? Why is this important?
That's a great point. And that's really why I started to focus on the whole thing with KPI, which is just key performance indicators. So it's basically being able to look at what you have as a business and what means something to you. Like for you, it might be, how many leads are coming in, or it might be how many sales or whatever. That's independent. Mm-hmm. And what you do, you try to figure out what those things are and measure them. It's like, if someone says to you, well, how are you doing? You're going to look at your bank account and go, good. Or you might look at it and go, oh, we had a crappy month. It's like, well, how do you know? It's like, where's your problem point? Well, it's in the number. It's not big enough. It's like, oh, well, yeah, but what does it mean? And so that's what I'm trying to do, is help people to make data-driven decisions. You start to look at things and go, my leads are going up, but my sales are staying stagnant. All right, what does that tell you? That's a story being told by your numbers over time. And usually small tweaks are all you have to look at. And I always tell people, like, when we go through our blueprint, I have what I call the core 4. And it's basically lead generation, nurturing, sales, and fulfillment. And so you have these 4 common things that everybody has. And I say, lay your software in there. Don't try to build new software, buy new software. What do you have? Get an inventory of it. What are you using to do your lead stuff? What are you doing with your fulfillment? Once you can look at it, then you can make a decision and go, oh my goodness, if I just close, my closing rate's 10%. If I bump that up to 30%, which is still low for my industry, I've just tripled my revenue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a result for you, because it's like, everyone's like, I need more leads. And they start pounding these leads in. And it's like, you're putting leads into a rusty old pipe that's full of dirt. Huh. You're gonna get some leads in there, but they're not gonna come out the other side. You have to unclog the pipe. So you change I tell everybody, start with the close, start with the end, because close is where the money comes out, right? When you're looking at your sales funnel, it's like you get down to the bottom, it's the sale. Get the sale first, and then you can start worrying about filling more into the pipeline.
Nice. That's the thing. I think that you have definitely explained how important it is to have the data. If you're not tracking the data, then you have no idea how to grow the business, because you don't know where you're stuck at. You don't know what can be improved. So that just tells you how important data is, and how important it is to be tracking those numbers, especially if you want to be profitable. Just a little story. I know you can you can spend money and be making sales, but still losing money.
Absolutely.
If you're making sales, but you haven't tracked your expenses, so, and you haven't tracked how much am I paying for shipping? How much am I paying in credit card fees? Things like that can eat into your profit. And at the end of the month, you're wondering, well, I've been selling, I've sold all this. How come I don't have any money?
Yeah.
So
and that's the thing. And what do we do? What do we do when that happens? We guess. We go, oh man, I thought I made a lot of money this month. Well, my bank account isn't showing it, so I need more leads, or whatever. You don't realize that you're building, your problem is just going to get bigger.
So, you get more leads and make more sales, but you're still going to lose money.
Yeah, at a bigger rate because you multiplied it. So, and the thing I think that's important is for folks watching this to understand is that sometimes that's the point where people go, but I don't know. I can't get into this numbers thing. I don't know what KPIs are. I'm not going to be able to track this. I don't know how to do all that. It's all so technical. It's like, take a breath. Pick one thing. One thing. Start with it.
One thing.
I know what, like I always say, start with the end. How's your closing doing? Like when you make that pitch and you're actually getting someone to purchase whatever it is, what's your rate? Don't judge it. Just find out what it is and watch it over time. Mm-hmm. It'll probably be pretty static.
Nice.
Okay.
Now, one unique thing that I discovered while I've researched about your company, Gimmee, is that your company focuses on not just the systems and the automations that we've talked about, the systems and the automations, right. But you also have another component, which is called the mindset. Mm-hmm. Now, this is unique because typically you'll see most other companies, they'll either focus on systems and automations, or systems and mindset,
right?
But not all three. Tell us how those three come together to help really business owners really explode.
Yeah, it's interesting that you pointed that out. It's very similar to when people are dieting and exercising. We either do diet and exercise, or we do supplementing and exercise. But there's this holistic approach that you need to take as a business owner and understand that what we're doing what you're doing, what I'm doing, what everybody else is doing as a business is providing something to the world. And you can't look at just one thing and say, if I put this system in place, things are going to fly. If I put this automation in place, things are going to fly. I've gotten into some pretty heavy discussions with people who are arguing with me that automations are a bad thing. And I'm like, because it removes the personal, and I'm like, no, you're missing the point. Automating certain aspects is simply to free up your time. It's things you shouldn't have to do. There's four things, right? There's do. What are the things I can do? What are the things I can delegate? Mm-hmm. What are the things I can automate? Mm-hmm. And then what are the things I can delete, like not even do? And if you look at everything that you do from those four things, that's what I've been getting involved with a lot of 7- and 8-figure business owners. And I think this would kind of pull it together, is that they don't think about any of this stuff we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. Their problems are at a different level. Their problems are more like, how do I handle the amount of business I have? It's not how do I get more leads. They're beyond all that. What they're doing is they use, like I was finding that people at a lower level of understanding of dashboarding, which is how you kind of it's just graphs for all of the stuff that you're measuring, that you either don't know what KPIs are and you're not using them and you're guessing and you're struggling, or you use them on a daily basis and you're kicking butt. I was trying to sell to these people and they were like, I'm good. Nope, I'm good. And when I started to really get in and talk with them and understand them, it was, oh, I see what's happening here. It's that they already have it in place and they realize how critical it is. So critical that you should see some of the spreadsheets that these guys do. And I think it's a little bit of overkill, to be honest. I mean, we're talking like 10 tabs, colors, and they have VAs and they have salespeople. They have all these people that are tying in and doing all this stuff. I'm like, wow. I mean, they're making data-driven decisions, but every small decision they make is so much more money, so much more revenue, or so much more impact or whatever. So what I can impress upon you guys is just start. You don't have to look at it as some big overwhelming spreadsheet. Just take one thing and look to improve it. Once you get the hang of it, it's the same thing whether you're doing leads or close, whether you're doing number of emails you sent out versus number that are opened. They're just numbers and it's just statistics. And so you just go, that went up. I did this little thing and it went down. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. It's like you make small decisions that have a big impact. And I think that's what I'm trying to do with people. And that's why I talk about being a datapreneur. That's really the idea of my group is I want people to start thinking about data as an integral part of what they do. And so getting back to the mindset is I need to help people understand that technology at the very depths confuses me. There's so much of it. But on the other hand, it's not out of the realm. I think a lot of people put themselves out of the realm. That same mindset that people talk about with money, you're starting a business and, I'll never make six figures. I'll never do this. It's like, kick that in the butt, get rid of it. It's like, same thing with data. Tech is not that far away from you. It really isn't. And if you look at it from a function perspective, I'm trying to do a CRM. I'm trying to make a sale, I'm trying to track my emails. You start to go, it's just data, it's just numbers.
Wow.
You come at it from a different perspective. You see it as a solution rather than as an obstacle.
Wow, you've given just a ton load of knowledge, and we're at the point where we've come to the end. So
I know I can talk about this all day.
I know it's like the time just flies by, but you've given everybody just a taste of what you can do for them and bringing them and freeing up their time, freeing up their mind, freeing up the hustle mentality.
Yes.
To a datapreneur mentality. So tell everyone out there listening, if they want to really dive deeper, how can they get more information and how to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So really, it's very straightforward. I come at it, the way we were having this conversation is the way I approach everybody. You can DM me. You can join my group, which is as he's mentioned, it's a datapreneur group, and there'll be a link, I'm sure, to all of that. I always do 30-minute free consults to new group members. And if you're not sure about the group and you just want to, get in a conversation with me, bang some ideas around, ask more questions, I am very open to it. The link will be there. We can have a conversation, 30 minutes, and I will get you a blueprint so that you know kind of what you have to do next.
Awesome. And I believe it's Gimmee.info.
Yes, the site is, I'm redoing it because I'm doing a summit on anti-hustle that I'm going to be relaunching the whole thing. So if you don't get the site, don't worry about it. Just find me at the Datapreneur Facebook group.
We'll make sure to post it down below. Thanks for tuning in, family.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye. If you're just starting out online, you're probably studying a lot. That's great. You're probably geeking out on all the strategies also, right? Well, that's also great. But the hardest part is figuring out how to communicate in a way that makes someone want to buy from you and how you should sell to them, right? Well, that's also what I struggled with for a while until I found the formula. So I created this free 5-day challenge called the Make More Money Marketing Challenge to get you on track with your marketing and, more importantly, the right sales scripts and processes to get it off the ground and getting people to take you up on your products, services, and your opportunities. You want to come? Well, there's small groups on purpose so I can answer your direct questions for 5 straight days. You can hold your spot by going to www.thementalmarketer.com/4M challenge sign up. Again, that's thementalmarketer.com/4M challenge sign up. Check the site for dates and times. I'll see you on the inside.